And welcome to the No Show Sportscast. First pitch, face-off, kickoff, tip-off. Mondays and Fridays. We're here at the No Show Sportscast. The Vancouver Canucks are rolling. They're finally getting their groove after we thought perhaps it was a fugazi start to the beginning of the year. They are back. They are winning. They're beating good teams. They can beat bad teams. They can lose to good teams. But if they can beat some good teams as well, then they're also all the better. They're beating the teams that they're supposed to be doing, taking care of business against Florida and Tampa Bay. Some big home wins because that's exactly what they needed. Roberto Luongo into the Ring of Honor. Congratulations. Thanks a lot, pal. Some great fond memories here in Vancouver for those guys. And everything's rolling right now for Vancouver. Everything is going according to plan. I think now we're at a spot where a lot of people weren't sure on how to react to a team with such a hot start, with having such consistent disappointments over the years. They finally got a coach who knows how to handle these guys. Their elite players are playing at the elite level, and the Canucks are continuing to win, beating the Lightning, which looked like an awful game on their part. It's hard to imagine that team is going to return to the form that they were at, which was going to the finals every year. They're very different. And now that we're into the first 2 months for the Canucks, it's established plus 37, best in the league, as well as pretty good at home and on the road as well. I think that they could definitely touch up on some spots on the road because it makes everything a whole lot easier when they're balanced out, when they're a balanced team. But I don't know. I think there's a lot, of course, that they can improve on, but they're getting everything from their stars and from their goaltending. So Florida, Tampa, Luongo's now in the Ring of Honor. Some great memories with Luongo. He was in Vancouver for 8 years. It was between him and Brodeur. Those two were kind of the guys that we all looked at. We all thought, hey, those are kind of and then there's everybody else, right? It was just those two for a little while there. It was a very short period of time, but that was when I started watching hockey. And those were good times, good years. It's nice to remember those. Seeing Luongo in the news, it's good. I'm sure a lot of people in Vancouver are happy to see that. So we've got Florida on Thursday night. I knew that Florida wasn't. I mean, they went to the Stanley Cup final last year, so there's going to be some expectations for this year, and it's hard to really know. That team, to me, they were kind of like how Montreal was in the 2021 Stanley Cup final. They got there. Are they going to be able to repeat that success, or did they just run on a bunch of hot streaks? And you could say the same for Vegas as well, but Vegas is continuing to dominate, and they are the first team to 20 wins this year. Although Vancouver is playing a lot less games, but they have been able to sustain it. And I think, like I mentioned, all the players are playing out well. They've been able to reach the top of the stats lists, and they've been able to continue that. So that is also very huge as well. Battling it out with the LA Kings. One of the concerns as well was wondering if this team is good enough to stay in that Pacific Division as a leader. Now, Edmonton has been winning, just been able to beat up everybody. And they're the ones that are going to be coming up, that we can expect to see them in the Pacific Division as probably one of the top few teams. But the Oilers, I mean, they are more of a wild card to me. The LA Kings are a lot more of a legit team. And at the same time, the Kings are a bit of an anomaly as well because they are 11-1-1 on the road, and they're 5-5-3 at home. So there's a whole lot of question marks, not just to mention you've got the Flames that haven't been that great. The Oilers are starting to find their groove, and the Kings still have a question mark, in my opinion. I'm not going to say that they're on the same level as Vancouver. I just don't think so. So this is a great spot, a great position. It's not necessarily, are you a team that has to prove that they're good? It's almost the division that you're in. Is that going to be good enough? Is that going to be where at the end of the season are the teams actually battling it out? The ones that are closest to you. It's like in the NFL, you got to win those division games. You really have to. And that is what is on the Canucks on the horizon for them. So they're playing Minnesota, Chicago, and Nashville. I don't think that this is a pressure spot at all because they are at home. They're at home for a lot of these games. So that in and of itself should be helpful, should be beneficial so that the Canucks can continue their winning ways and winning at home too. I mean, yes, they've been struggling a little bit on the road. I do think that uh, that is going to come later, but they haven't appeared to me to be struggling at home or on the road. Just been a solid team the whole way, even though their road record is a lot better. But none of that is going to factor in. I don't think that it is a question mark for them down the road, but it's looking good and everything is going well for them. But in Toronto, the Toronto Maple Leafs, they lose to Columbus. They were down 5-0 into the third period and they came back and tied it up and lost in overtime. That what how can that even happen? Not to mention, how can that happen when you only have two goalies in that game and none of them got tossed? Because that on top of just how did the Maple Leafs allow this to happen in the first place? They unfortunately don't get the win, but all those 5 goals at the end allow them for just 1 point. That's all that they're able to get. It's all good. It's all well for them. But just like that, just like that, it's up and down league, and these games are happening all the time. It's so bizarre. I don't even know how to explain the Maple Leafs losing like that. First, they were up. Columbus was up 5-0 on them into the third period. That kind of stuff just doesn't happen anymore. I remember a long time ago, probably in like 2008, Montreal was they were losing 5-0, and the Rangers came back and won 6-5. I mean, those kinds of things, they just do not happen at all. Those are the most seldom things ever. And man, oh man, did that was that an important game for Columbus? I think so. But the thing is, the Maple Leafs, they have games like that all the time. And Austin Matthews is just torching the league right now. 23 goals, leading the way in every like shooting, every goal scoring like ledger that you want out of a guy like that. He's just putting it all together. And it's quite remarkable that he's still doing that. Like, he's gonna have 60 this year. It's his year again. He's back to full form. He's back to the Hart Trophy winner that we saw 2 seasons ago. That is pretty unbelievable. Also, Thursday night football. Yeah, this one is just tough for the broadcasting company because you see two teams on paper at the beginning of the season, you can definitely suggest that this is going to be an excellent match. But now you have the battle of mid, and that one has just been circulating so much around the league and just around the NFL at an unexpected rate, at a extremely unprecedented level. Because how many quarterbacks? I mentioned there were only two goalies in that Toronto Columbus game, but how many quarterbacks should you go through in a huge blowout game where the home team, so Vegas, was up 42-0 at the half, and the Chargers did not come back. The Chargers could not. That was insurmountable what just happened there. And it's unfortunate to see that, but it's also kind of like entertaining. It's also kind of just like, okay, if the entire season is going down, there was kind of like a nice spike before it went back to going down again. Because I think a lot of NFL teams kind of just want the season to be over. They kind of just want everything to be done. Because this is a lot, there's been a lot of bad things that have just happened as far as quarterbacks, backup quarterbacks. It's almost just this injury plague that's been happening for way too long. And I don't even know how is this happening so often. But anyway, Las Vegas versus the Chargers. That was something to behold. My goodness. Almost just it's very entertaining as well. It's like I felt like this was entertaining because I'm almost like, okay, can they score 70 points? Can they just get 10? Because I want them to. That's what I wanted. I wanted them to score 10. And was like, this is totally a possibility, especially when you're putting up 42 in the first half. Like, let's go. I don't understand how Brandon Staley, like, he has got to be thinking about next year. Just where am I going to be? What am I going to be doing? I can't teach defense for crap. My team is imploding. Justin Herbert is getting worse. And take responsibility. Just realize that it starts from the coach and the quarterback and the offensive coordinator and the development and everybody around him that this has been growing into. And it's hard to imagine a player like Herbert who has been so dominant, passing yards. He had over 5,000 2 years ago. Last year, he was up there, top five as well. The passing yards, it looks like the production. Okay, you take away his weapons and like Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. I think he's just been able to make something out of nothing. Austin Eckler has taken a huge step back. And you get rid of Justin Herbert. I think this is just a testament to how bad the Chargers are, how poorly they've been constructed. Looking at this, it's unbelievable. Because you get rid of Herbert. This is just the Panthers. This is just, well, the Panthers aren't a good example because their first overall pick has not been making them any better. They're worse than they were last year. But a team, how is there a team that's worse? I think an Easton Stick led LA Chargers team is the worst team in the NFL. And it's an unfair sample size. But it also kind of creates the question of, okay, what else is there on this team? Because Eckler is taking huge steps back. Keenan Allen is not healthy. Mike Williams is out for the year. Khalil Mack has been excellent, but Joey Bosa isn't there. So now you've got to wonder where this team is going. Where are the Raiders going? Hopefully Antonio Pierce keeps up a strong remainder of the season after this. Thursday's game, 3 more weeks. Do as much as you can to prove that you could be the guy for next year. As well as just Aiden O'Connell, him playing excellent, obviously. And maybe that's just how the Raiders, their offense, which was completely invisible against Minnesota. So you've got that. I don't even know how Al Michaels, it's such a tough year for him. Once again, Thursday night is just difficult. It's hard to find the sparks. It's hard to be energetic. And my goodness, I could not. There's just no way that I could do that. That is just unbelievable. Because you know that the game is over. Is there a way that we could just make the game end at halftime? But the fans are probably thinking the same thing. They're just like, okay, as long as we could get a discount because this game is over. And I just spent all this money on this game. And I'm happy that the Raiders are going to win in a meaningless season because there's a dozen and a half teams that have winning records. And some of them won't be making the playoffs because the AFC is just that gridlocked right now. And it's nuts. It's nuts. Not as nuts as the NBA. And Mr. Antetokounmpo. What are you doing, man? What are you doing, Giannis? You used to be my favorite player. You used to be like the guy that was like, wow, this guy, I really hope he wins MVP. I really hope he wins a championship. I really hope all these great things happen. And I wanted those things to happen. I feel like everything good that could happen for Giannis has happened. There's really nothing more that he could possibly want. And that's probably made him a little bit complacent. He's gotten all the money. He's gotten the star players. He got Damian Lillard. He's got the championships, defensive players of the years, the MVPs. There is nothing else that this guy is lacking, and he's still in his prime. Maybe he just doesn't know what to do with himself. Other than, hey, he's got the franchise records and everything. He's got all the records from Milwaukee. He's gonna have a statue of him. The Greek Freak he's gonna have multiple banners, trophies up and down the wazoo, everywhere. This guy, he is gonna be immortalized in Milwaukee, which is hard to it's I mean, he's gonna be more of an icon than Aaron Rodgers in the state of Wisconsin. This guy's gonna have to have stock in the team. He's gonna have to have his profile. He's gonna have to have a painting of him that's just stone carved into the city hall somewhere. So I'm confused. Why did the Pacers take the game ball from this rookie guy, Oscar Tshiebwe? He played already versus the Lakers. He already played a professional game and he already got his points. It was some assistant coach who took the ball from the ref right after the game. So why were we acknowledging this? This no. Okay? No. Not we're gonna be looking out for rookies here. No, 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 no. How many balls does this Oscar guy need? Okay. How many? He did he not get one against the Lakers in the in-season tournament? That counts. It counts as having buckets in a professional game. So why were you wanting him to have the ball again against Milwaukee? Were you unaware that Giannis had 64 points? He went to the free throw line and shot 32 shots from there. How many balls does this guy need? Hey, son, check out my trophy room. I don't have much because I only played in 3 games. The first game I played in was against LeBron and AD, and we got smacked. We got hammered. And then the second game, we got smacked and whacked around, tossed around back and forth up against the wall by Antetokounmpo. Heard of him, son? And then I've got another ball. This was when I got my first bucket. And then I got another ball. This is when I got my first three-pointer. So I've got all these balls from these things that I achieved. I know that this one time I had to fight off Giannis himself to get me this basketball that's in this room right now. This is my trophy room. I've got half a college year worth of credits in here, and I've also got this basketball that I stole from Giannis when he scored 64 points. I scored 1 point. I thought that was pretty cool. I know he scored 64 in that game, but I got one. Okay. And that I think deserves, I'm a little bit more deserving of that because I had one ball. And it was the ball that Giannis wanted. And that was the one that I got right here. So man, how many balls does this guy get? Honestly, this is ridiculous. It really is. I bet you that Oscar Tshiebwe didn't even know that he was getting the ball or want it or was thinking about it. He was probably like with the rest of his teammates, they almost crawled back into this game. They almost made it interesting. They forced Giannis to have to come back and get to that 64 points anyway. But this is weird. And it's weird for the Pacers. It's weird also for Giannis. Doesn't make him look that great. It doesn't. It's not a good look when you've got a large, angry man who's running everywhere and pointing at people's chests. It's bizarre. That was such a bizarre thing. I'm like, come on, man, dude. This kind of harkens back to what I was mentioning earlier. The guy has everything. He probably thinks he can do whatever he wants. Losing some of your street cred, man. Why are players in the NBA like this? They just are. They just are. Players like this can also include a man by the name of Draymond Green. And Draymond got ejected for assaulting Yusuf Nurkic by attacking him and assaulting men. That's what he does now. That's Draymond Green's MO. That's his thing, man. He's a large man with a gray beard. He plays power forward and often attacks other people. That's what he does. Yeah. I really like the Warriors when they were good, when they were winning, and when Steph and KD and Clay and all those guys were on their team. I suppose I should say that I liked seeing those players play. The Warriors just happened to be super dominant. Although when I started tuning in, they weren't like there's always going to be the favorites based on roster construction. And the Warriors should have always been the favorites every year that Durant was on that team. I really don't know how the Raptors made it to the finals that year. But that was later on. I enjoyed the Warriors. I was interested in watching Steph and Clay and KD play and all those guys. It was great. It was cool. And then they just started winning way too much. And I was just like, okay, it's probably best that they just stop doing this, stop dominating the league in every possible way that they could. They still did that, and that's who they were. That's what they did. They won all the time. But they are turning into one of the most unlikable teams in the NBA. They really are. I think they were also just on their way out, and they still are, because Clay is not who he used to be. Wiggins is not who he used to be. Chris Paul is not who he used to be. Draymond Green can never go back to where he used to be. And they've all kind of just fallen off except for Steph Curry. The guy's still putting up 30 points per game, and he's shooting over 43% from three, which is his career average since he was a little tyke at Davidson. But they have allowed Draymond, blinded by how good he is in the playoffs, which he is. He's great in the playoffs. It's almost like the time that he's only time where he's able to be who he is meant to be in basketball. In basketball. But they can't see past him from all the great things that he does. They can't see that he is a dirty player and he yells at the officials way too much. He's over emotional. He's making these physical gestures all the time. He's in the face of people and jawing all the time when it's so unnecessary. I think he is the most unnecessary, like just everything that he does. And the man's got to take ownership. The guy does not say my bad or apologize. And I think maybe that's how the Warriors have maybe molded him into this, making him enabled to do it more and more. He really has. And, but like I say, it's just, I don't think he's very apologetic whatsoever. And I really hope that he doesn't think that there's nothing wrong with what he does. Because, well, if he did, I wouldn't be surprised. I really hope not, but I wouldn't be surprised. This is also a page out of Adam Silver's book because he thinks there's nothing wrong with the NBA. He thinks it's probably the best league in America, but it's not. You have to take ownership and you have to apologize. Okay? Move on from Draymond. If I were Adam Silver, I would say, if you do this again, you are out of the league. Okay? Because there is nothing else that we can do for you. You are out of the league if you do this again. Okay? Because we're not about assaulting people. That's what this is. And you are not being penalized like you should be for what you're doing. These defenseless players, these guys that probably don't even want to play when you're there. They don't want to play against you. They don't want to guard you because they don't know what you're going to do. Just constantly, time and time again, man. Figure it out. Don't come back unless you've changed, okay? And, well, the weekend is looking exciting. There's football on the weekend. Obviously, plenty of hockey, plenty of basketball. Week 15 in the NFL, that is just unbelievable. And the schedule changes up a bit, but we will be covering everything NFL as well as just all the other news. Ohtani, Media Day. Not sure if there was something, I don't know. Yeah, Ohtani, he had Media Day. So 17. Number 17, that's the guy. He's not going to change his number to 70 for every million he's going to make each year. Well, in 10 years anyway. Very interesting situation. Tyler Glasnow and Manuel Margot have now been traded from the Rays to the Dodgers. So that is huge. The Dodgers are just loading up. If they get Yamamoto, they're going to be complete. Or if they get like a guy like Bellinger or Yelich, there's obviously a lot of free agents I think that they're still going to move in on. But we got to see more action. We really got to. But that's what's going on in baseball. And hey, I'm excited for what's to come because there's lots happening. MLB free agency and beyond.